the opportunities to talk more about the work priorities and vision for students, families, and the community. Now, these questions are intended to provide insight into the challenges, opportunities, and future of Richmond Public School as well as the 6th District. Forgive me for not introducing our special guest, and Holton. Give God a hand clap of praise for him being there and
Thank
coming
you,
to
Pastor.
just share some things. And we're going to just ask you some questions. We're not trying to snow you, or we're not trying to force, but what we want to do is to get some input as to where you are and where you see the RPS 6th District. How can you, what is it that you can do? What do you bring to the table to better this particular district as well as the whole RPS school system?
Yeah. Well, first, I will take the liberty, Pastor, to just thank you for having me today and for everything you do here at the church, but also for all the great work you and your congregation do in the community and with our schools. So you are an invaluable part of this community, and I've really loved getting to know you, and I'm looking forward to lots more opportunity to work together. What do I bring to the table? Well, I would say probably the most important thing I bring to the table is my commitment and my passion that every child in our school system deserves a great education as a pathway to life success. And that's what I want for my children, and that's what my children got coming up through Richmond Public Schools. But I know that we aren't always delivering that for every single child in the school division, and that's what we should be doing, and that's what we can be doing, and that's going to be my priority. And there's a lot of pieces to how you do that, but that's the top line. Every child, you know, it's their trampoline to life success.
Okay. This is something that I've always thought about. I just want your perception about it. What's your take about IEPs, individual educational plans? And this is just my take on it with the little experiences that I've had. I think all of our children learn differently.
Yep.
How do you plan to approach it, or do you think it's something that's worth entertaining to see how we can better develop a plan for each of our students?
Yeah. Well, you know, my husband is not the education expert in my household, but he happens to have an idea on this, and he thinks we, yes, absolutely should take the IEP, which stands for Individualized Education Plan model that we do for special ed, and that every child should have an IEP. The downside of that is it's a lot of bureaucratic paperwork sometimes, the way the IEP system works. But the concept of we should be individualizing education and making sure that every child gets what he or she needs is absolutely right. And that we are doing some steps in that direction. Every child now in the early grades does get a literacy assessment, a reading assessment early on and frequently through the early grades. And then they each get a literacy plan. How are we going to get this child to the point of being able to read on grade level joyfully by third grade? And so every child gets assessed and gets a plan as needed to get them all to that success point. Another place where we do individual planning is in middle schools, where, at least in theory, and I'm still learning how much, you know, I've been working, as you know, Pastor, I've worked at the state level as State Secretary of Education and the Board of Ed, and now I'm newly back working at the local level on the Richmond School Board. But in theory, every student in middle school gets a career plan starting in 7th grade. Where do they want to go? What are their goals? What are their interests? And how do we get them there from 7th grade through 12th grade? And that career planning process is supposed to follow them, be individualized and follow them all the way through. Now, how that works when we put so much on our counselors and so much on our teachers and administrators, whether all that happens the way it's supposed to, is a different question.
Okay. You often said that RPS is on the rise. Could you explain what that means to you and what evidence do you see that demonstrates the progress being made within RPS?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Uh, we have immense challenges in our city schools, and there's no denying that. And I don't want to be a Pollyanna. And yet, it is also the case that we are making some real progress, and we don't want to hide our light under a bushel. We need to be sharing, and we need to, frankly, we need to do a better job communicating about the good things that are going on. One of them that's just very concrete is our graduation rates. And our graduation rates are up to 80% now. They've risen significantly over the last decade. They're across all demographics, so students from all kinds of different backgrounds are graduating at higher and higher rates. And that graduation means something. I mean, you have to pass the various SOLs. You have to meet the credentials are real to walk across that stage. At the other end of the spectrum, I'll come back to, I talked about reading before. We have been cited actually in May of last month, in May of 2026, Richmond City Schools got mentioned in 2 different national studies about the good work we're doing on literacy, on reading, on getting kids using the science of reading to teach kids to read joyfully by 3rd grade. The best study, I think, was the one that came out of Columbia University, the education, one of the top ed schools in the country. And they did a very detailed case study on Richmond as an example of how we're making real progress on reading, and how on the PALS assessment, which is our early reading assessment that's now become the VALS assessment, a different acronym, but a different test, a better test, but basically still the same thing. The PALS numbers, we went from a 41%, this is our K through 2 students, 41% reading on grade level in 2021, I think it was, to 65% in 2024. So in 3 years, we moved the needle 24 percentage points. And that's happening at schools, elementary schools all over the city. So that's Blackwell, absolutely. That's Oak Grove, Belmead. It's all of our schools. And it's hard, and it's happening because teachers and principals are working very, very hard to use this new science, to learn the new science of reading and to teach it. And some of it, you'd laugh because some of it's very back to basics. It's phonics.
I'm glad you mentioned that. That would be my next question. I look at potential and progress as being 2 different things.
Yeah, that's good.
Because we talk about, in some about testing, it says that some of our students have the potential and it had progress, but it has not met the mark.
Right, right.
How do we take them to the next level and not stay stuck at potential?
Yeah.
But have evidence of progress.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
And the other term we use sometimes is growth. So you want to see students grow from one level to the next, but you also want them to get to the mark, to the proficiency mark. But so that measure I was just talking about, that's grade level proficiency. And so what I was just describing is our schools making real progress. But what I said was we moved up to the 65%, so that means 35% of our kids are not reading at grade level, and that's the immense challenges that we still have. And it's just, it's a lot of hard work. It requires great teacher. I mean, really, the recipe, it's not that complicated. The science of what works in schools, high-quality teachers in every classroom, high-quality curriculum, good leadership, and good resources to support all of those. Now I say it's not that complicated because, you got to have good teachers, you got to have good curriculum. That's pretty straightforward, pretty obvious. But those things aren't necessarily easy to do.
Yeah. Are we probably the highest paid teachers in this in this area?
When we started last school year as by a small margin the best paid teachers in the Richmond region. So we were our first year starting teachers were making more than Chesterfield and Henrico. That was an accomplishment. That had not been the case for a long time. But the truth is that I think our teachers ought to be making $15,000 more than,
I think
and I'm not even just pulling that number out of the sky, because there are school divisions. DC is one, actually, where they've done this thing where they, you know, they negotiated with their unions and came up with a successful platform where they literally gave all the teachers across the board a $15,000 bonus, and then started paying teachers more if they were willing to go and serve the hardest, the neediest students in the neediest communities, even on top of that. And they started attracting the best teachers from all across the country. And we've got a collective bargaining agreement now in place here in the city of Richmond. We've had that for 3 or 4 years now, and that's a good thing. It's helping raise teacher pay, and raising teacher pay is helping us. But we're still not, our teachers, you know this, our teachers have to do so much on top of just plain teaching. They're counselors, they're helping kids with laundry, they're helping with feeding programs. They are having to help fill gaps left and right. And you and I have talked about domestic gun violence, helping console students who've lost friends to gun violence. That's why we need, and the research would back this up, you need these teachers to be making way more than they could be making somewhere else. It's a tough job.
We have a couple of things we wanted, that I'd like to discuss with that, but prior to that, with the different, I know you said now that they have support, because teachers that at one point in time, now that they have the support of the companies that said that they have to do this and they have to do that, is it because of they are now getting protected that they do as much as they need to do, as much as they want to do, but not more than they need to do?
So I'm not understanding the companies. Help me understand your question.
All right, say for example, now that there are certain rules and stipulations that prohibit them from coming up. Let me make it plain.
Yep.
Coming up, especially when I was in the school system, if there was a fight that broke out,
Yep.
then they would get in there and they'll break it up. But now it's saying they have new rules in place now. That's because they have the what do they have now? The
school resource officers.
No,
Okay.
not the resource officers, but at one point in time, you could do that without getting into trouble.
Yeah,
But
now I hear what you're saying. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It is one of the many reasons it's a difficult job is that teachers do have to worry about looking over their shoulders to make sure somebody's not going to be questioning their conduct. And, you know, we've got safety rules in place to keep everybody safe, teachers and students. But that there are constraints on what teachers can do, and some of that's just the modern scrutiny. We're not, you know, we can't do everything we might have done in a previous day and age.
The labor unions, do they help or do they hinder?
You know, I think my only experience really working with the teachers unions, which is really the Teachers Association, is here in Virginia, and I think they're a huge help. So I will tell you, when I was state secretary of education and on the state board of education, the Virginia Education Association was my best friends. They're smart, they're policy oriented, and they want what's best for kids. What's best for teachers is also often what's best for kids. Now, does that mean every instance in every school, you know, sometimes there are going to be teachers who, in the job, who this is just not the right profession for them, and we're going to have to help them think about how to find their way into a different career sometimes. And, you know, it's the union's job to protect that teacher, and so there's going to have to be a negotiation and a resolution. I'm not saying we're always going to agree, but at both the state level and actually so far the chance I've had to work with the REA folks here in Richmond, I think they're doing great work. And I think our teachers are often, well, they are the very best allies to our students short of parents, and teachers and parents working together on behalf of students is the real recipe. So, you know, you hear stories about teachers' unions. Maybe, I don't know what the experience is in other states. Here in Virginia, I'm a fan.
A lot of it, I just hear about walking the halls. There's some of the administrators are saying, you know, well, we're restricted to doing certain things.
Yeah,
And I
that's true.
think
Yeah.
That's
Well, here's an example. We just had this issue up at a school board meeting recently. One of the things that we do these days that we didn't do back in the day, we have rules that protect teachers' planning time. So if the principal needs a teacher to do help in the lunchroom or cover another class where a teacher is out or to help with something in the office, maybe back in the day, the principal could just say, hey, I need you to give up your planning time.
Yeah.
Well, now we have rules that protect teachers' planning time, and that's one of the things that the unions have negotiated for. And they should, because teachers don't have enough planning time. And if they're going to do what we want them to do in the classroom, we need them to protect it. And also, we should give the administrators tools to help too. So, you know, we ought to have more floaters in the building so that the administrator doesn't have to pull the teacher out of their planning time to get done what they need to get done.
Can we agree to disagree?
Yes, sir. And you tell me. So you tell me what's your perspective on that?
I think sometimes in rewinding the tapes in the past, I think there's some good and I think there's some better.
Yep.
All right. And by that, I mean that a teacher, of course, today is not the teacher of yesterday.
Yep.
You brought it up yourself. Teachers do more than just teach.
Absolutely.
They become confidants. They become moms. They become dads. They become the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker.
The laundry person.
All wrapped up into one. At one point in time, especially in this community, we were more friendly. We were more understanding of each other.
Yep.
And then a lot of times when we think it's kind of escalating to another point that gives some advantage to sometimes the teachers and the administration has to go, like you said, an example, you said, look, I need your help. Can you do such and such? We don't have to do that. Or can you stay back to do such and such and such? It says here that.
Yeah, I hear you.
You understand, you understand what I'm saying?
But here's an example. So I hear you on that.
Okay.
When we started having nursing shortages across the country and couldn't fill jobs as nurses, we didn't ask nurses to work extra hours without pay. We increased the pay for nurses and increased the slots in nursing schools, so we got more nurses. Mm-hmm. And now nurses can make really, really good money.
Definitely.
And teachers make better money, but if we still have persistent shortages and don't have enough people and aren't giving them the support they need, that's on us to make the system work. And I hear you. I mean, I actually think plenty of teachers do plenty of what you're saying. Yeah. They're helping out, going the extra mile. They take their work home with them. But on those occasions when a teacher stands by their stands on the contract, so to speak, it may sometimes be because they're trying to do right by their students and trying to have enough energy to come back the next day. So I hear you. We can agree to disagree, but we can also agree that we ought to be giving those principals the supports they need so they can get what they need to get done. And when we talk about how much work we put on teachers, on principals, on our school level leadership, even more, we ask an awful lot of our school level leadership.
How can we get the community to be more involved in assisting in those areas?
Yeah.
And I've said this. I know at one point in time we were asking for volunteers. When I say we, the community were asking for volunteers. We meaning here at this institution, we were asking to volunteer, and we would go to the schools, and they would want to volunteer, but then they said, well, you need to get a background check. Now, if we could volunteer, then you need to get the background check.
Yep.
to make sure it does that.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
to have to pay for the
Right,
background
no,
check.
you should, the
and-
volunteers
yeah,
shouldn't have to pay,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. I mean, yes, we should be doing background checks. That's one of the
Definitely.
new world things.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
But no way the volunteers should have to pay for it. Well, you all already do such great work, volunteering in the schools and helping recruit people, so you should be telling me how we get more community involvement. But I'll tell you one that I feel really strongly about, and this is in our Richmond City Dreams for RPS is our strategic plan. One of the things in our strategic plan is that we want to have a strong PTA in every school. And the truth is that we don't. You know, we have schools with active PTAs that are doing all kinds of good work for schools, and we have schools where they're really just AWOL. And I think that that's something the community could step in and help. Because even in those schools where we don't have an active PTA, there are parents want what's best for their kids. Parents want to support their schools, but parents face a lot of challenges of those parents who, in schools where we don't have active PTAs, may be working 3 jobs, they are raising other children. What can the community do to support? And this is something, as I say, we've set as a citywide goal, and so the administration is working on it too. But if we're going to help, say, Oak Grove Belmead is working to stand up a new strong PTA, can the community volunteers volunteer? You know, we'll help supply supper and childcare during the PTA meeting so the parents can come and engage with the teachers. And that's where we bring the parents and the teachers and the administrators together to talk about improving the school.
All right, let's talk real talk.
Okay.
All right. In the community, it depends on which and what community it is. Can we agree on that? Okay. Here's the other thing. We can't always wait for Muhammad to come to the mountain. Sometimes the mountain got to go to Muhammad.
Yeah. That's,
And with that being said, a lot of times it's not that I know a whole lot, but I've experienced a lot of things.
yep.
And so even in the Hillside Court area, we would see a decrease in PTA, parent conferences. So you're not coming to us, let's go to you.
Yep.
And then we will go down to the center and we will have parent conference right there.
Yeah, and we did for a while there have, and I'm as I say, I'm newly back working at in the RPS level, so I'll have to find out what the status of it is. But we had teachers doing home visits and all that, and the pandemic, you and I talked about this
Yeah.
earlier, interrupted some of that progress, and we've got to figure out how to get back to it. But absolutely, reaching out, taking Muhammad to the mountain. I mean, taking the mountain to Muhammad, absolutely. Yeah.
That has to work. I think we need more community involvement, and you just
Yes,
brought up an issue. You
yes.
said, you know, how can we do that? Then we can say it to them and let everyone who would like to volunteer know, provided that you go through your checkpoint and
Yes,
make sure
absolutely.
that you're cleared.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, I'm a firm believer is that I don't think we need a lot of, even in this climate, I don't think we need a lot of resource officers. I
yeah,
think we need
yeah.
more community involved
I
persons who
agree.
have been cleared.
I agree.
Because
Yep.
see, Miss Smith, if she see you walking the hall, she could tell your mama.
Yeah,
All right?
right.
That's more than someone in a uniform with a gun and a badge
Absolutely.
who see them in their own community and they see you back at school
Yeah.
now. Then it becomes it becomes some type of bullying because the mere fact that they got a uniform on said that I'm in charge, and my job is to make sure that you do not break the law. Miss Smith said that she would be there, she would tell your mama.
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
And it's not always this case, but a lot of times, just their mere presence would say, I need to treat them till she go past.
I have to confess, I met a woman, I was over in Mosby Court the other day, a woman involved with the Tenants Council, and I'm like, she looks familiar, and she looked at me and she said, are you Ann Holton? I said, yes, ma'am. She was an aide, I don't know whether she's an aide or a volunteer or what her capacity was, but she was at Mosby 50 years, what was now Martin Luther King was Mosby Middle School when I was there 50 years ago. And she says she used to fuss at me when I walked up and down the hallways barefoot. And I was like, I don't remember. I deny. But she remembered. But yes, it was everybody's responsibility to parent the children. And the children, and I like your peer-to-peer thing. It's the children's, and we are doing some of that, and including at places like MLK. We're doing some peer-to-peer stuff where we're having the students help police each other.
What about one of the pink elephants that's in the room in regards to our public school system, and that's violence and conflict and mayhem and mischief and all of the above. We have metal detectors in there, but it doesn't seem to deter it much because instead of doing it directly in the school, they wait till you get outside of the school. And ultimately, the results are things that occur in the community, oftentimes end up back in the lap of the school.
So this is one of those things where I do think things are better, and you would have a sense of this better than me, so I'd be interested in your perspective. But I do think the violence is down citywide. Our schools are mostly safe. I mean, the truth is, kids are safer in the numbers say kids are safer inside the school building than they are out on the street, as you point out. And I think things are moving in the right direction. And yet, we just have these terrible, terrible tragedies. And you know this. You and I've spoken before, but about domestic violence incidents in the city that impact, and there was this horrific one over in the north side, Highland Park part of my district earlier this year. And, you know, we lost a young man who was just a superstar student at John Marshall, and his sister at Henderson. And it just a tragedy for that family, but not just for that family. Absolutely a tragedy for every single teacher and student. I was at the first meeting that the principal, that the superintendent had, a virtual meeting with those teachers and students right after, teachers and leaders right after it happened. And it just was heartbreaking. And all those teachers who should have been going to school the next day, helping their students get ready for SOLs and thinking about learning and teaching, are instead consoling and grieving. So that's, first of all, just to say how important it is. We've got to do everything we can. And some of it is things that have to happen outside of school. We've just got to do something about guns, and what we can do together as a community to go to the legislature, to go to families, to do. And I was happy to be at some of the gun violence prevention events this weekend in and around my district. But I think one of the most important things the schools can do is just that teaching all the way back to elementary school, helping young people learn how to resolve their disagreements with words, not with fists, and learn how to express their feelings. And you know, good kindergarten teachers do that every day. In circle time. I watched that when my kids were in school. I watched teachers, especially those early grades. It is absolutely part of what they do every day, is teach how to get along, how to work together.
Are you familiar with Wendy Northrup and Alita Myers? They both went to VCU, professors there.
I know Wendy Northrup from Peace Education Center work a good long while ago, but I don't know what she's up to lately.
I don't know lately either, but we worked along with her. We were working under VCU, and they had a program called RIP, Respond in Peaceful and Positive Way, or Rest in Peace Permanently. You know, it was an acronym that was used, but it was effective.
Yes.
And we used to teach and train the peers how to resolve conflict.
Yep.
All right, in a peaceful and positive way.
Yep.
And so a lot of that has been put on the shelf. I think it's time to dust it off.
Yep, that's a good one. Yep,
and bring it back.
I will look at that one in particular. Yeah. And I do think we are. I know we're making progress. The number of suspensions we have for disciplinary events is down over time. That's one of those we're on the rise things. but it's down from a high enough level that it's still, I'm going to graduations this year. We had some beautiful graduations this year. I was at the Armstrong graduation, the John Marshall graduation, the Adult Tech Center graduation, just celebratory, wonderful events. The John Marshall graduation was a beautiful event, 3/4 of the way through, and it only takes one bad apple. Somebody jumped over the barrier from the audience, so it wasn't a student, and was fighting one of the students as he came off the stage, having gotten his diploma, 50 feet in front of us up on the platform. And one bad apple can mess things up for everybody. Well,
I was able to speak to some of the officers, and this is just my personal opinion about it. There were several things that happened, and there were other things that could have happened.
at that John
yeah,
Marshall. Yeah, good. Yeah, I'd love to hear your feedback.
And if you are a visitor and you're coming to a public event that should be sacred and solemn,
Yes.
a respectable time,
Yeah.
and for whatever cause, whatever reason, if you come outside of your immediate area to infiltrate and to affect a private affair, then if it causes a ruckus,
Yep.
then you could be charged with exciting to riot,
Yep. Yep. Or just
not just
disorderly.
disorderly conduct.
Okay, with more than disorderly.
If
Okay.
nothing changes, nothing changes.
Yep. Yep.
We need to be held accountable. If we did not
Absolutely.
learn from the situation a few years ago, where lives were lost and
Yes. Right.
innocent people
Right.
were affected by
Right.
it, there has to be some consequences for that.
Absolutely.
Because if they're not implemented, it's going to happen again.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't want to, but I don't want to take away from the 99% of the
Exactly.
students who were doing exactly what they should be doing, and
But that's my
yeah,
point.
right.
That's my point.
That's why we have to hold the
Yeah, we have to
hold
accountable. Yeah.
those who don't play by the rules. We have to hold them accountable. Absolutely.
I don't know what they charged them with.
Yep, yep.
But if it was disorderly conduct, they say, stop doing that.
Yep. Yep.
Don't do it again,
Yep.
all right?
Yep.
Until the again comes.
Yep. Well, and finding out was somebody smoking something or not what was the problem, and how do we make sure it doesn't happen again?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Cyberbullying, we talked about
Yeah.
cyberbullying. And especially when I was coming up, it was defined differently. It was,
Well, Pastor, when you and I were coming up, there wasn't any cyber. We may have had bullying, but we didn't have cyber.
see, you have to say that.
Just to be clear.
But even bullying at a point in time, 7 years ago when we were coming up, it was sometimes looked at as a rite of passage.
Yeah.
It was looked at that because afterwards you were finished, and it wasn't any guns or knives or anything like that. And once you finished, all right, I see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you're going about your business.
Yeah.
But now, because we are so advanced, I've seen people at a particular school, and they're walking in a straight line with a class. Other one walking in a straight line on that class. And right when they get to where they're parallel from one another, they get right in the middle and start fighting.
Yep.
No one said anything to
No,
that
right,
one.
right,
No one
right,
said
right.
it to that person.
Right, so where
but
the
yet
heck did that
still,
come
they
from?
met right in the middle
Right.
because they met together on the internet.
Yeah. Yep.
And then they bring it to school, and so it was already ignited before you got there.
Yep.
It exploded once you got there and you saw the individual.
And one of the bad things on the internet, it's just easier to, so now we are talking cyber bullying. people find it easy to be meaner when they're not in person with somebody, and that the hurts can last longer and aren't so easily repaired, as you say. When you're in person, you can, move on. But the social media impact, and it also, people lost skills of how to talk to people and how to get along, and they get isolated, and it's a real the mental health cost. The research tells us what we know all through our instinctively is that the mental health consequences of too much screen time, too much online life are very, very real, especially for our young people. It's true for us adults too, but especially for our young people. And we took steps in Richmond. I can't claim credit for it because it was before I joined the board, but we took steps in Richmond to institute a cell phone ban during the school day before we were required to by the state. Now it's required all across the state. And I think that the law got even pushed a little further in this last year's General Assembly. So now it's what they call a bell-to-bell ban. So you don't get your phone back at lunchtime. It's gone for the day. And I think that the teachers say it's hard to enforce at the beginning, but once the students get used to it, they absolutely see a difference, that the students are more engaged with each other, they're more engaged with the materials. And so we've made progress in Richmond. I will say that what I hear, and I was just hearing from a teacher at one of the high schools you're in my community here recently, but the enforcement is inconsistent, and that's what we've seen. The central office, surveys say that too. So some schools are doing better on that than others, but we're going to make sure that they're all. We have our eyes on you if you're not enforcing it, and we're gonna make sure everybody enforces it, because as I say, it can be extra work at the beginning. You have more disciplinary events, but eventually it's going to, we've got to figure out how to help these kids come out from behind the screens. The anxious generation, the work, it's a real problem. We got to get them outside more too.
Yeah, it does. You say that again, say that part again.
Got to get our kids outside more.
What? I'm just asking you, why is it important to get them outside?
Well, so now I'll speak from personal experience rather than the research, but the research backs it up. It just gives you a whole different perspective on life. So when I'm not worrying about teachers and students, when I'm not watching over what our schools are doing, I'm watching birds. That's my new thing. I became a birder a bird watcher during the pandemic. And it gets me out walking up and down the James River here. We have bald eagles living in the middle of downtown Richmond. You can look out your window and watch them. And they had a baby this spring, and I watched the baby learn to fly. This morning I went over, we had peregrine falcons who nest on one of the buildings downtown, and the State Department of Wildlife Management basically oversees them. And today was fledging day. So the 4 baby juvenile peregrine falcons took their first flights this morning. And it just lights you up with wonder, appreciating, the universe that God gives us to get outside. And just the sense of calm and the sense of physical activity. So, if kids do need to move around, and if they can get out and play, we're doing more sports in the schools, including even at our elementary schools some, but definitely at our middle schools, more after-school sports. I think it makes a difference.
I think this is the right vitamin. I think we are vitamin D deficient.
Yeah, that's the sun one, right?
We are vitamin D deficient.
Right.
And a lot of things that we give our youth, such as Ritalin, to calm them down, and a lot of times they're deficient in vitamin D.
I had not heard that
inside
connection.
more than we stay outside. So I was just going to try to prod you to share what your thoughts were about getting outside, because that's something we need.
Absolutely.
We just don't have it. And not just in the youth, it's with the adults also.
Yeah, and even just, the peace that can come from taking a walk. And leaving your phone behind, or at least in your pocket, and listening. That's one of the things that my bird watching has done for me, is it makes me listen, because birding is not just watching, but and I'm listening, and I might hear birds, but I might also hear the sound of the river, or I might, even if it's just hearing the horns honking, it just gets you outside of yourself a little bit. I'm glad you share that passion.
That's important. Working at RBHA, we found out that a lot of times our youth, especially our younger youth, they think they are misdiagnosed, and we give them Ritalin and say
Yeah,
they're real hyper.
yes.
That's not it. A lot of times, you need to give them more responsibility.
Yeah.
You need to give them more work
Yeah.
so that they can, because a lot of times they will finish ahead of time and they may become disrupted because they are not engaged.
Right. Well, and you have to give them an opportunity to move, right?
Exactly.
So again, the smart teachers have wiggle breaks, right? And let the kids get up and jump around for a minute, because, I'm a mother of two boys, and, second and third and fourth grade boys are not meant to sit still for hours and hours and hours on time without moving around a little.
They're famous with, stop touching me, stop touching me. Just stop touching me. And I'm quite sure you probably have a tape. You said, stop running, stop running. Stop.
Yep.
At the same time, we have developed a chart that deals with the maturation process of youth. Because sometimes the very things that we expect them not to do is age appropriate.
Yep.
It is age appropriate. And we said things without even thinking about it, whether you're in the schools, in the walking the halls of academia, or if you're in the neighborhood. He said, you're too big to act that way. What does that mean?
Yep.
I mean, I'm just, what does it mean?
Monica Murray, who we talked about earlier, Monica Glass now, she's married, but the principal who was at John Marshall, who's starting at the new Richmond High School of the Arts, I'm so excited about. But she sang to the graduates at the John Marshall grad. She has a beautiful voice, and she sang that, I Will Always Love You. And she said, there is nothing you can do. Not anything you can do that's going to make me stop loving you.
I know it.
And she means it. I'm so excited about the energy she's going to bring to that school, and I'm so excited about the new building, and what's going to go on in that new building. I can't remember if you and I've talked about this before, but this, we're doing this. We're working to transform our high schools, our comprehensive high schools all across the city, but we're starting with Richmond High School for the Arts, and the new building is opening up this year, but the following fall, it's going to be opening with really state-of-the-art programming in the arts, and not just arts for fun, but arts for arts can lead to careers, graphic design, animation, and things that can get students. Part of what we need to do in high school is help students get engaged again. To have them feel like their learning is exciting and matching their interests, but also helping them think about helping them prepare for life after high school, which, for many students, and I will say my own kids got a great education in RPS, but it didn't always feel like it was connected to life after high school. And that's a problem all across the country, and it was one I worked on at the state level. How can we help our schools do better at connecting students to career and employment? And we're taking some baby steps along the way, and our High School of the Arts is one of the first steps.
Two things, and then I'm gonna let you talk and share with us about your tenure and time in the sixth district, and what are some of the things that you foresee? What are the things you seem to maybe look at scrapping? And other things you want to just present. When we were looking at trying to develop our youth and giving them a sense of direction, we're doing the summer program here, and one of the things that we asked the youth between 11 and 19, and we asked them, where do you want to live? Do you want to live in the same place that you're living now? Or do you want to move in another place? All right? So if you want to move to another place, then you have to move your mindset.
Yep.
And if you move your mindset, what is the product that's going to cause you to move, to cause you to have a different mindset so you can move from where you are to where you would like to be? And how much is that going to cost you? So in the next 8 years, and we were talking about middle school, we said in the next 8 years, where do you see yourself?
Yeah, good.
And how
That's
do you plan?
great.
And how do you
Great.
plan to get there?
I love that.
And so the assignment was to bring something similar to a vision board.
Yeah, good. I love
And
it.
I wanted to see the picture of your futuristic house. I wanted to see a picture of your new automobile. And I wanted to see a picture of some type of recognition that shares where you were and where you are now.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah,
And then at the close of all of that, how much that will cost you?
yeah,
That's going to determine what kind of job you
yeah. And then how are you going to get there?
Yeah.
So one of the, I think one of the school divisions is doing great work on this, that we're moving in this direction, but we're not there yet. But is Hampton City Schools, which is Dr. Jeffrey Smith was the superintendent there, and you know him as a fellow pastor here in Richmond. But I went and visited when Dr. Smith was the superintendent in Hampton, and I got escorted down the hallway during my visit by a young woman who was, I think she was in 10th grade, and I asked her some version of the "what do you want to be when you grow up" question. And she says, "I want to be a pharmacy tech too." I said, "What?" And what, how did you get to that answer? Well, they have gone to this academies model. And as I say, we're moving towards a more, we're moving in this more career-focused direction here in Richmond, a little bit differently, but same general idea. But they'd moved to a model where in 10th through 12th grade, everybody was in academy, where you're in the law enforcement academy or the firefighter academy or the essentially pre-college academy, healthcare, culinary. But in 9th grade, everybody does Career 101, all the entire ninth grade. In 9th grade. And it was a course. It wasn't just, I mean, it was a whole program, but one part of it was a course. And this young woman explained to me that in her 9th grade Career 101 course, she'd had to research different careers. How much did they pay? How many years did it take to get to be a Pharmacy Tech 2 or a Pharmacy Tech 1 or whatever other options you were looking at? What kind of, how much would it cost to get that degree? How long would you have to go to school? How much would it cost to go to school? What would you make on the other end? What kind of job would it be? What kind of skills would you bring? What kind of work options would you have when you got out? And you had to choose one and then research it. And she'd chosen, I don't remember whether she'd chosen the Pharmacy Tech 1 or the Pharmacy Tech 2, but eventually settled on the Pharmacy Tech 2 because that was the better return on her investment. And she knew what she wanted to do when she got out on the far end when she was in 10th grade. Now, she might even change her mind 5 times over, but she started thinking that way. So she's got that vision board that you mentioned. She knows where she wants to be, and she's thinking about, so the vision board is a good thing to get a goal, but then how do you get from here to there? And I do think, and this is something I worked on as state secretary, I think that it's a big, important responsibility of schools to help prepare students for career preparation, and we've kind of ignored that. We're doing better on it, as I say. We're opening up this new Maury Street, well, not opening up, that's too optimistic, but we're going to build a new career technical center up on Maury Street, that property that Philip Morris has given us just across the other side of Route 1 on Maury Street. They've donated that property to RPS, and it is the next, after Richmond High School for the Arts, that's our next big building project, and it is going to be state-of-the-art career tech education.
You've already answered the question as I'm gonna have to leave because they're gonna put me out if I don't, but vocation.
Yeah,
And you already spoken about
good,
it.
good.
Every child, every student is not going to college, but they can take a vocation.
Yeah,
I admire some of the other counties. They have cybersecurity.
yep,
You can graduate with your certificate in a cybersecurity and still be at J. Sergeant Reynolds at the same time.
right, right.
There's some things that our students, our kids can work with their hands with.
Well,
That-
and
that
their
would pay-
hands and their heads, right?
Exactly.
So our, electricians and plumbers and HVAC, those are jobs we all need, right?
Exactly.
And they make good money, and you can do those jobs and become an independent contractor, be your own boss. And actually, we just had an announcement yesterday that the Bloomberg Foundation, who is a big promoter of trades and apprenticeships, is giving Richmond City an $8 million grant to improve those kind of apprenticeship pathways to the construction trades. So it'll be helping pay for internships and apprenticeships in those high demand fields. So yes, the cybersecurity demands are high needs, but so is the construction industry.
Look, we have to close, but we are so grateful and thankful. Do me a favor, put your hands together for Ann Holton. Good job. Really
Well, thank you, Pastor.
I hope your time and tenure here was worthwhile, and I'm quite sure we will be able to look at the numbers later on. But I think it's always important for us to know you and for you to learn a little bit about us and how you can take us to higher heights and new dimensions in regard to the community as well as with Richmond Public Schools. So you all just make sure that you at least get out and vote.
Please,
No,
yes.
just
Get out to
get out
vote
and
and also reach out. I'd love to
Yeah.
hear from you. You can reach out. My school board email address is aholton@rvaschools.net, or you can go to my little campaign website I think it's annholtonforschoolboard.com, and there's a contact button. Give me your ideas, suggestions.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Pastor. Great to be with
Thank you so very
you.
much, and again, we just so happy and delighted that you chose this forum and this platform to come to share some of the things that you are doing now as well as futuristically. All right, we thank everybody for coming out, and we're closing at this time.